Hi, this is DarkFox127 and welcome to another Scum Creation Kit tutorial video. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to create your very own fish hatchery from the Hearthfire DLC. So first off, I am going to note that you are obviously going to need the Hearthfire's ESM as a master for your mod. And in my case, I am going to be using my new play home that I've been working on for some months now called Claywater Retreat, and it's part of Project Modularity, which is a large resource sharing project. So if you need to know more about that, you can go ahead and check out my website, and all the links will be in the description down below. So I'm going to be using Claywater Retreat. I'm going to have my very own hatchery, exactly the same as the Hearthfire system, and I'm going to guide you through how to do it. So first off, I'm just going to show you sort of the general layout that I'm using here. It's not the best location to have a hatchery as the water is fairly shallow here and there's not a lot of room for fish, but for the purpose of this tutorial, it is going to do just fine. So I've gone ahead and built my own docks because I don't like the docks that came with the Hearthfire DLC. But if you do want to see all the items that you can use here, which you're actually going to need, go under World Objects and Static and type in Build Your Own Home. Now, you'll see there's loads of Build Your Own Home stuff. And if you go down, you will see Build Your Own Home Fish Dock. So this is the dock that they use. They cling two of them together. And at the end of it, they have the hatchery. Now, the hatchery is the main thing that you're going to want to go ahead and place down first of all. This is the Build Your Own Home Fish Hatchery 01, and that will be under Activators, so you'll see it there. It's the hatchery, and you don't need to worry about the script just yet. I'll go through that shortly. But that's what you're going to need. You're going to want to go ahead and place that down, and in fact, mine is a little further from the dock than I would like it to be. So I've placed that in the water. It's shallow-ish water, but it should be deep enough for some fish, and I've made sure that the gap's on the right side there, so that's where the fish would go through, or, well, not the fish would go through, but the stuff to sort of breed your fish. So that's what the hatchery does. You add items to it, and after a certain period of time, fish are sort of bred. So I also have my fish nets here. So you'll see, again, if you go under Static, Build Your Own Home, you've got things like the buoys here. You've got 3 different versions, so nice variations of it, so it mixes things up a little bit. You've got the anchor that they're attached to, and you've also got the 2 ropes. I don't know why there's 2 and they're named weird. They seem to be exactly the same thing, but that's Beth for you. So you've got 2 ropes. Go ahead, pick one. You've got the fish nets. You want to be careful how you link these things together. These are obviously there to give the illusion of keeping the fish inside. So you've got fish nets there. If you keep snap to grid turned on and you place them in, you've got the standard single one there, and then you attach the others to it that have a post missing on one side, and that makes sure that your posts aren't going to end up sort of being overlapping and causing Z fighting. But yeah, you'll want to snap those to grid, put them together. I've already done mine. I've made slight adjustments. That's the best way of putting those together. Now, your buoys, obviously, these are just here for show, really. So you want to go ahead and place these things in. And the best way of doing this is, first of all, I'm just going to hide the water, actually. You're going to have situations where you want to hide the water to place things. So if you go under View and Show and Hide, and you'll see water is ticked. Sometimes this isn't ticked. I have no idea why, but sometimes it's not ticked yet. The water's showing, so you just kind of keep ticking it until the water does get hidden. So I'm going to have the water hidden. You'll see I've got my buoys here set up quite nicely. I have some clams set down, some slaughterfish. So the buoys, first of all, have the water hidden. Go ahead, grab yourself one, drag it in. You're probably best with number 1. Keep snap to grid turned on, so Control and Q, or you can tick them on there in the toolbar. Have one around where the height of the water is. Go ahead and drag the rope in next, and make sure that all these clip together nicely first of all, and don't pop out through the top. There we go. And the rope is massive, but it will just go underground, and that's not a problem. That'll go through the terrain. And then grab your anchor and put your anchor in. So if I can just get that, put that in there, and then you can go ahead, hold down Control, select each of these, double tap 1 and 1 again just to re-show, just to make sure you've got the right thing selected. And what I did for the trick was I just went around, I obviously put my water back on, got that to the right height. So I'm just going to select those 2 there, got that to the right height, so rope's the right length, the anchor's there. And all I did is I went ahead and Control and D, copied it, put it around, and then once I put one where I want it, or all of them where I want them, Control and F on just the buoy itself, and you can go ahead and easily replace them out for different variants, which in most cases, depends how high your rope is, just adjust that. It'll give it some variation. And as you can see, I've got some buoys around which work quite nicely. So I'm going to delete that one. I don't actually want that one there. Going to just get rid of that. So I've got those laid out, and now I am again just going to hide the water. Next thing I've gone ahead and done is put some clams down. So these are harvestable items. So you can go under, I do believe it is world objects. And they are under flora. There we go. So under flora, you've got things like clams and slaughterfish stuff. So you want to go ahead, put some clams down. And I'm not going to link them just yet, but what you are going to need for the clams is an X marker. So I'm just thinking of the best place to put this thing. So I'm going to go under static and X marker, place one of those down, and put it about there. I'm going to give this a reference. So PMX and clams. Now by default, I want this initially disabled. So tick that OK. And I want to link my clams up. Actually, I'll do that now. Do I have any more clams here, or is it just the two? I think it's just the two. So link my clams up. This will make sense shortly. Enable parent those. Do that. I use the batch menu for that, by the way. So it's just a dash key. Use the batch menu. Link those together. Or you can go ahead. Do them individually under the enable parent section. Now the other thing I need, which I have yet to place in, is a slaughterfish. So I've got all this stuff laid out. I need my slaughterfish now. So I'm going to search for slaughterfish. Now this has a unique actor for the slaughterfish, because what they've done with this is, as you know, slaughterfish cause a lot of problems when it comes to sort of waiting around or sleeping and stuff, because they're classed as enemies. They're aggressive, but they're stuck in the water. Now the purpose of this is to have the slaughterfish as something that you can have sort of appear in your pond, and you can kill it for food essentially, or ingredients. So they have created a slaughterfish which is not aggressive. So if we just go into this, it's just a normal slaughterfish. They've copied the encounter slaughterfish, and all they've done is copy everything apart from the AI data. So if you go under the AI data tab, you'll see they've actually got this one set to unaggressive, so it won't attack you, but you can just dive in and kill it for ingredients or just to eat or whatever you want to do with it. So I'm going to drag one of these in, and with the Hearthfire setup, they do have one of these. So let's just show our water, make sure we've got him in the right place here. So I'm going to place him in, put him somewhere just underwater. He's in there, and if I want, I can give him a ref. So I'm going to call him S-Fish, Slaughterfish, it's nice and short. Make sure that this guy is also just like the clams were, initially disabled. And what you want to do is go ahead, place yourself some slaughterfish eggs as well, as these make sense, and enable parent these to your slaughterfish. So it's like the clams to the marker essentially. So any of them that you place down, put them in there, and you've got a nice setup going here. Now what's going to happen is you are going to place certain ingredient items into the hatchery, and then like your fish and your clams are going to start to appear and grow, and also the pond fish that we are about to add in also. So those are going to start to appear. Now the other thing we need before we get started with fish and all that good stuff is we want to go ahead and add in a specific actor. So I'm going to go and type in BYOH into the actors, and you'll see you get a load of build your own home actors in here for various different things. Now if you have experience creating your very own build your own home planters before, so your Hearthfire planters, you'll know that for some deranged reason they use the build your own home planter NPC, who is a almost naked character, and he's placed into a utility cell. And they use exactly the same sort of thing for the hatchery. So there's also a hatchery NPC, and would you believe it, they actually went ahead and gave them different appearances. I have no idea what this system is, but we're going to need to use the same. Has he got bloodshot eyes? Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so what you're going to need is you're going to need an interior cell, just a normal utility cell, which for project modularity I already have. So I'm going to head over there. You're going to want a cell, and you're going to want to go ahead and put your hatchery NPC in here out of the way where the player can't access. So I'm just going to drag and drop him in like that. And have a naked man sat in myself. This is just weird. But if you actually look at the planter NPC and you go to their cell, This is quite deranged, really. I have no idea why they set it up this way, but it's just the way they do it. This is sort of what holds the ingredients and things like that. It's very strange. Bunch of naked men. So, yeah, Bethesda have some weird stuff going on in the background there. But anyway, we've got our NPC placed down, and we need to link him to our system. So I'm just going to go back to my cell, and if you just check these... There's the one NPC. You get like loads of NPCs, one for each planter, but there is only actually one fish hatchery in Hearthfire by default. And if you just check this guy, he's been link refed from the fish hatchery. So we need to go to our very own. So I'm just going to make my way back to my cell, which I believe is exterior 2. If I can find my own fish hatchery. There we go. There it is. Just an extra tip, which I tend to show an awful lot when dealing with exterior cells, is sometimes when you reload an exterior cell, it likes to hide a bunch of stuff. So you just need to go ahead and hit F5 just to sort of refresh the entire render window, and it will kick things back in. It hasn't deleted anything. Nothing's disappeared. That just happens every now and then. It's a weird CK bug thing to join the rest of the bugs with it. But anyway, we've got our hatchery here. You want to double click on this. And you want to go to Link Ref tab, double click on here, and instead of having to navigate back through the cell view, we might as well just go into cell and start typing the name of the cell that it is, a utility one. And you want to click on utility, then you want to go under reference, and you should see your build your own home fish hatchery NPC. You want to link directly to him. Now, the only other actor that was sort of involved with this entire setup was a hawker. Now, what Bethesda did here, I thought at first when I checked this system out, there were hawkers around because the place that the hatchery is a snowy area. Obviously, I'm not going to use hawkers for mine, but I will just demonstrate how this works. I thought they placed hawkers in because they like to come along, nom nom nom, and eat your fish. But it seems that that's not actually the case. So I thought that it'd be an entire sort of encounter thing, and you have to defend against hawkers trying to eat your stuff. But apparently not. They've thought of it along the lines of these are just native hawkers. They had 3 of them, and what happens is as soon as you enable your fish hatchery, so you actually craft the hatchery for Hearthfire, it seems that they make it so that the hawkers become friendly. So they think of it along the lines of if you provide them fish, they are very happy with you. So they'll dive in every now and then and eat stuff. I don't know if the packages allow for them to do that. I very much doubt it. But that's the idea. That's the illusion that it's supposed to give. So what happens here is it's just a normal encounter hawker, no special specific actor or anything. And they kind of fudged it with a little script here. So if I go to scripts and add, give that a second. You might well get an error if you've got DLCs loaded. And you want to type in hawker, build your own home, house hawker script. So you want to go ahead, add that in, and you just want to autofill the faction. Now this WE player friend faction, it's a little bit hit and miss. I think it depends on how aggressive the actor is, but this should make it so that on load it will basically make him a friend if the link reference, which is going to be the hatchery, so link ref, if that is enabled. So once you've crafted that, they're going to turn from being your usual kind of pissy hawkers when you get too close to being completely friendly with you. So if you do have your hatchery in a snowy region and you've got hawkers nearby, you're going to want to go ahead and set that up with those hawkers nearby or any other creatures. But do be aware that it works for hawkers. I've tested it with a bear, which is something I wanted to have set up because a bear would make more sense in this area to dive in and eat some of my fish, but the bear didn't work. It still wanted to rip my head off, so you might have to just do your own sort of custom-friendly bear setup for that. But like I said, I don't really want to have hawkers in this area. They don't make too much sense, so I'm not going to bother with that. But that's exactly how you set that up to get your hawkers working. Now, the next part of this tutorial is the interesting one and the quite complicated and weird part of it. It's where you have to get your actual fish to spawn in here. So you'll see why I've got things initially disabled and linked together right now. What happens is if you go to the hatchery and we go along to the script, you will see, if you go into here, what they do is they have a build your own home house fish container list. And I'm going to explain to you what this is. So if you go under miscellaneous and form list and you just type in fish, you'll see they have some form lists here for this system. So first of all, this has the various fish that are available in the game, including Hearthfire, so the salmon, and then on the end they have a slaughterfish egg and food clam meat. And basically what this means is you are going to breed these different types of fish and such. So you'll dump them into that container and then these will appear. And that's what this list is. This is a list of everything that you can place into this hatchery that is going to sort of turn into multiple of it and appear into here. That's why things are initially disabled. So you can go ahead if you want and you can make your own list of these things. So if you want to spawn different things, different fish, hell, even custom model fish, anything like that, you can go ahead and do that. But I'm going to stick with the standard one and I'm going to place all these in here. Now, for the purpose of this tutorial, I am going to use all of these. I'm not going to make any changes so it doesn't get too confusing or too difficult. But when I do this for Project Modularity for Clay Water Retreat, I'm probably going to end up editing this, having my own version, creating a new ID, of course, and I'm going to have less fish, only specific types, and only a few in here. But yeah, you can go ahead and do whatever you like with that. So I'm going to leave that as default. I'm going to use what they've given us. Now I'm just going to place all the fish types in there, even though there's not a lot of room. Fish references we'll set up shortly. And then you've got things like spawn days and game days passed. You can actually customize the spawn days and the ice spawn count. I don't think when you hover over, no, they don't actually give you sort of what the defaults are, which is a bit silly. But you can go ahead and take a look at the source. To look at the source of any DLC script, you're going to have to make a little change. You need to go into scripts and source and the DLC that you want to look at the scripts for, because they're packed into their own folders for some reason. You want to go down and find the script or use the search. Find the script that you want to look at. Now, in this case, it was the Fish Hatchery, so I had to copy this. I had to go back to source and actually dump it into source. It's going to replace because it's already in there. So that's how I got to look at this script. And this is the workings of the script. You don't need to understand it, but like I say, this will give you a better idea of how things actually work. That's how the whole hatchery thing sort of happens. And yeah, in here the default might be somewhere here. So the spawn days are 1 day. You can go ahead and change that via the property if you wish, but that's the default. So that's all set up nicely there. Now what I need to do is go ahead and add my fish. So the other thing I'm going to note is these other form lists that I used are the fish or multiple fish or other items that need to start to spawn and appear. So all they've done is they've took the normal critter pond fish and linked them up, number 1 with number 1, number 2 with number 2, and so on. And we're going to need to link these up ourselves. So you'll see in a minute that we use these. So what you need is you need to type in critter in the filter for the search, and you need to go under activators. Now, I think you can change this and use whichever one you like. Now, for me and in the Hearthfire DLC, it's pretty shallow water. So I'm going to drag in critter spawn pond shallow. I'm going to drag that in. I'm going to make sure that's just a teeny bit above the water. Drag that in, place that there. So you can place these in. You're going to need 6 of these or however many or different types of fish that you want. So like I said, I'm going to stick with what Hearthfire's got, even though it's going to be quite the tight sort of squeeze. I am going to place a ton of fish in here. I'm going to place 6 of these like Hearthfire has. And then in addition, our other 2 are slaughterfish and clams. So I've got this one here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 6 of these in if I can. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's not going to be perfect by any means. I can go ahead and tweak and adjust that afterwards if I wanted. Or like I said, make it custom and not have quite so many. But what you want to do is you want to click on each of these now, double click on them, and you want to give them a reference. So I'm going to go PMRef Fish 01. And you want to name these 1 to 6. It's going to make things easier. Once you've named one, double tap 1 to hide it, and then go to the next. And just paste that, so I have that as 2. I'll do that for each of these. That's going to be 3. That's going to be 4. This is going to be 5. And of course that one is going to be 6. Now I already referenced my slaughterfish and I have my marker here referenced. Those are the other 2 items. Like I said, you can have more. That'll make sense in a moment. So I've got all those linked up. I'm just going to hit Alt and 1 now and re-show them all. Now I'm going to do the next part that I need to do. So I'm going to double click on here. I'm going to look. This is reference number 1. and you'll see you've got two scripts on here. So you've got critter spawn and critter spawn 01. The normal critter spawn you don't need to do anything to, but if you want you can go ahead and change it. This is for things like dragonflies or anything else that you might want going across the top, so you can change it to fireflies or anything like that. I'm going to keep it because dragonflies make sense around the fish and such, and that's what it's on there for. The critter spawn 2, well 1 sorry, but the second one is for your fish. So you can see by default this is set to critter, fish, pond types. Now for this to work with our setup, we need to change this. So I'm going to start typing build your own home. So BYOH, and I'm going to go down a little because it's not too far down. And I've got fish list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what you want is for these to match up perfectly with each of these numbers. So this is number 1. I'll select number 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that for each of these. So this is number 2. You get the idea. Build your own home, go down and select number 2 for that as well. So I'm just going to do that for each of these. Okay, so there we are. Got all of those done. I'm just going to re-show them all. And the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that each of these are initially disabled. Now, although you could double click on them and just go initially disabled on every single one, I'm going to click on one, hold down control and click on the rest of them. There we go. I could have done it within there, but you know, I like to be awkward. So I've got all these selected and I'm going to hit the batch button. So just dash on the keyboard. And I've got all these listed and I want to have all of these initially disabled. So to do this to a bunch of items, I want to set initially disabled, don't tick false, hit do. And if I just check one of those, it should be initially disabled, keep respawn on. So those are now initially disabled. And what I need to do is add them to the array on the script on the hatchery. So I'm going to double click, go onto my hatchery, and I'm going to go under fish references. Again, like I said, if you've done a custom setup for this, then you're going to have to change it. But I'm going to go under fish references and I want to add each of these. So I'm going to go under here, go to add, and I'm going to add them in order. So select the reference here, double click on there. And because we've given them references, they're going to be easy to know if we've clicked the right one. Now, the way of doing this is to just keep adding the same one over and over, and then I'll show you how to quickly change it after. So I'm actually going to need, what is it, 6 for this. So I'm going to add these. I'm going to add 6 of them in. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 6. So I've got 1 there. Now I'm going to click on the next one, and I'm just going to scroll down over the reference until I get the right one that I want. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to do 5. And then 6. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why it does that. That's meant to be 6, so I'm just going to select that reference myself. Sometimes the creation kit can be a pain. So there we go. Select that. That should say number 6. There we go. Not sure what happened there. But I've got all 6 of those. And the other 2 that I'm going to need are my slaughterfish and my clams. So next up, and like I said, make sure if you just type in fish and you go back to your form list, make sure that all of these match up. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th is the salmon. And then we've got slaughterfish, egg, 1 there, and then clam. So it needs to be the slaughterfish and the clam, because these are going to match 0 to 0, 1 to 1. It's going to match up with the array, essentially. So I need my slaughterfish next, so I'm going to click add, and I'm just going to get my slaughterfish in view. If I've got a load of these markers in the way, I can go ahead and tap M, get rid of those, hide them. And I'm going to select my slaughterfish. So there's our slaughterfish, and then I'm going to go ahead, hit add, and I'm going to select my marker for my clams. So I'm going to tap M again, get that showing my markers, double click that, and I've got my clams. And make sure that anything that's in this list is, of course, initially disabled. So perfect. There we go. So although that's something of quite a confusing system, you don't need to understand it 100%. Just make sure that you link everything together and get it all set up correctly. So it's weird how everything's linked. Excuse me. At first it seems really confusing and quite a mind boggle, but it really does make quite a lot of sense. And if you are familiar with scripts, then taking a look into here, it will kind of reveal exactly how it works. So now all that is left to do is hop in game and test out our hatchery. Okay, so here we are in game, and if we take a look at the water, you will see that by default there is nothing in the water. There's no fish, there's no slaughterfish, and there are not even any clams in the actual river, which is perfectly fine. Now, obviously, you can go ahead and you can set this up so that you'll be crafting it like Hearthfire. That's what I'll be doing with Project Modularity, with clay water. In fact, you'll see the house isn't even there right now. I've got a whole quest linked up. So what you would do, if you do have this linked to a craft system, you can go ahead and check out my tutorial on how to do your own build your own home setup. That'll be at the top right of the screen now. You can do that and make sure you enable ref all of the correct things. So enable parent like the hatchery and stuff, and have it actually crafted and things like that. But you can of course just leave that, and you can just have your hatchery here to begin with your home. It's entirely up to you, and it should work absolutely fine even with the NPCs like the hawkers and things like that if you decide to set that up. So I've also got my barrels. Like I said, these aren't linked in any way. These are actually no respawn, and they'll let you put stuff in. That's weird. I've got carrots in. Well, I've got carrots in a fish barrel. But anyway, that's all set up. So what I'm going to do now is just head over to the fish hatchery. I've gone and cheated myself in some items. And this acts like a gift menu. So see, it says give down the bottom there. And what I'm going to do is go ahead, put something in. So it says item added to hatchery. Now what happens if you put more than you actually need in there? It will say you only need to add one of each item into the hatchery, and if you come back out and go back in, it will make sure that it hasn't just stolen everything off you. It has only taken one off. So I'm just going to put the silver perch in as well, one of those, and it will only accept the items that are in the form list. So make sure that everything's matched together. So when you put river belly in, those show up, and when you put silver side perch in, those show up, and so on. You can also put things like, I think it was the slaughterfish eggs, and that'll make the slaughterfish appear. So I'm just going to put those in, and then I'm going to wander around the game a bit because this does work off time. Like I said, it takes about a day or so and they'll show. So I'm going to run off. I'm going to go and do some quests, do whatever I want to do, and then I'm going to come back, and hopefully this will all be set up nicely and we'll have some fish. Okay, so here we are about a day or two later, and as you can see, we have a hell of a lot of fish and dragonflies. Actually, it's kind of hitting performance, which is strange. But yeah, we've got a load of fish, load of dragonflies, and they should be the right ones, the ones that we're putting in there. So we've got like our river belly, we've got our silver side perch, and our salmon, which is lovely. I think those are the ones that we put in. So obviously this is a bit overkill because everything's kind of placed into a confined space, but you'll spread it out and sort it out yourself and make sure things work. Also, some of the stuff overlaps with the hatchery. But yeah, as long as you kind of take more time, you have a bit more room, and you customize those form lists if you like, you can get this set how you want. So you can take things like clams, take the fish themselves, so fish these out the water. And of course the slaughterfish will appear and stuff like that if you put the correct things in. So what should happen is you can go ahead, collect all those up, and at any time you should be able to add more items to the hatchery. I'm getting pushed around by fish. What is going on? So you'll be able to add more items to the hatchery, and then they'll sort of come back as well. They'll respawn after a time. And you can breed your own fish, which is fantastic. And that is it for another Scrum Creation Kit tutorial video, so I hope you found it useful. Please let me know in the comments section below. You can of course go ahead and check out the rest of my work over on my website at www.darkfox127.co.uk, and you can also come along and join the Discord, where we have some great chats going on. You can share your mods, check out other people's mods, get help with your own mods in fact, and just generally share your own creations. So please feel free to come ahead and join us over there. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.